Welcome to the Non-Standard Podcast. I'm your host, Manny Lamson, and what you're going to find in these episodes is just how to improve your quality of leadership just 1% at a time. We don't cover very extreme things because you'll find out that leadership is about consistency, doing the basic things great, and understanding people at the utmost ability to help them get to where they need to go. So I always have a guest on my show, and these guests are going to provide you with some of the basics that they lead by, some of the examples throughout their life, their story, and then also we cover my leadership philosophy in there as well that has helped guide me in becoming a leader as well. So again, the intent here is just for you to learn, and I hope you do. And if you do, you know what to do. Just save, share, like, or follow, anything you got to do to continue this journey. I look forward to doing more and more of these episodes. And with that being said, let's get on with today's episode. Okay, we continue the path of ROTC cadets because I just love hearing from the future. So this cadet is from University of South Alabama. He has a different path in ROTC. So this is what we call a 250 route, where you don't start your freshman and sophomore year, but you start later in college, where you don't have a lot of time to really get selected. He had 4 months to get selected for ROTC, competing against other cadets who have been there for 2 years in that process. So it's a really cool route to hear from and understand that process if that's something you're considering. Again, Travis is full of motivation, full of leadership, and full of just personal development. And if you stick towards the next episode, I actually drop another episode where I am working with his detachment in like a Zoom call with his cadets on military career leadership. So we have that coming up as well. That's just some of the extra stuff he is doing to become a better person and a better leader. So again, another ROTC cadet. We talk about the future. We talk about why he wanted to join, what's motivating him, how he's developing leadership, and all the stuff that young leaders need, and also older leaders can develop as well. So enjoy the episode, and let's continue to grow. Welcome back, everybody. Just like you heard in the intro, I'm joined with my man, Travis. And if you didn't see my video recently on Instagram or TikTok, he sent me some patches and a coin, and they're pretty badass patches and coins. And I just really appreciate when people take their time to send that in your letter. It was really good too. Dang, I should have brought it because we'll probably talk about some of what you talk about in the letter. Mm-hmm. So I think there was some good stuff in there as well. But today is 9/11, so Travis and I were talking about what we did for September 11, and I was telling him how I just got done with my 9-mile vest ruck jog with my boots, and then did 9 push-ups and 11 squats after each mile. I'm still super winded. My heart rate is still elevated, so it'll seem like I'm talking very fast. And then Travis, what'd you guys do? You can re-say that.
So this morning it was Army ROTC, Air Force ROTC, the local Mobile Fire and Rescue Department, Mobile Police, and the local Sheriff's Office with their SWAT team. They had their 2 Bearcats out there in the stadium, so it was pretty cool. And we ended up doing 4 laps around the Hancock Whitney football stadium here on campus.
Nice. That's cool. And the reason I always emphasize to a lot of my friends and people to do like a harder workout on 9/11 is really just to embrace the suffering that those can't suffer anymore. Exactly. And it's just a way to, just show that we still care and we still remember. And it's just the least we can do is push ourselves a little bit further than we would normally do. So it's always good to see and hear what people are doing. Mm-hmm. But with that being said, we will get on the road because I know you're in your detachment and people are probably eavesdropping, listening to this amazing conversation.
Well, I got the door closed. So.
But we'll get the show started. Mm-hmm. Like for everybody listening, we always start with the 3 H's: hometown, heroes, and hardships. And the reason we do that is so everybody can gauge where we're coming from when we start talking about leadership. I get to know Travis as well. So do you guys. So when you hear why he is passionate about some things, there's already an understanding of where he comes from. And it sort of elevates our episode as well. And I tell a lot of people at the end when we're done recording, the flow of this is so great because we start pretty gentle with a little bit of discussion of who we are. Then we ramp it up with, some experience, and we ramp it up with my philosophy. Then we ramp it up with some leadership traits, and it sort of keeps elevating from there. Mm-hmm. And so we'll start off pretty simple here and gradual, and then we'll work our way up. So Travis, I'll turn it over to you. The show's yours.
So I am originally born in Torrance, California, which is southeast LA. I was there for about 8 months, and then my parents, we've moved here to Mobile, Alabama, where my mom's parents are, and lived here, grew up here for first 12 years of my life, and then in 2016 moved to Phoenix, Arizona for about 4 years. My father he's still in the moving industry. He's been a furniture mover for 53 years, and we moved out to Phoenix to help out his nephew, pretty much kickstart a moving company out there. And then in 2016, 2017, we moved back out here to Mobile, and I've been here since. Went to high school at Faith Academy, graduated in 21. Played football in high school. I was O-line and D-line. So I had fun there. Yeah.
Nice. I was going to say, for all the moving around, you definitely got that Southern accent pretty thick, man. So it must have stuck to you pretty good.
Yes, sir. It did.
Nice. What about your heroes?
So my first one is my high school O-line coach. His name's Coach Boykin. He's always been someone I've looked up to throughout high school, and he was ex-cop, and just some of the stories he told were really motivating to me about how he grew up. He played football at LSU, I think, if I remember correctly. Played football there. And then my second hero is, let me back up a little bit. Through my dad being a mover, I've basically grew up around the company and all the jobs he's had. And I've just grown up moving furniture. Through that, being here in the South, in the Florida Panhandle and in Mobile, you have, you have 4 military bases within 3 hours of each other. Mm-hmm. Tyndall Air Force Base, Eglin Air Force Base, Hurlburt Field, and NAS Pensacola, where you have a lot of experience. Mm-hmm. One of those people I was able to meet was Lieutenant Colonel Goldfein, which is the nephew of our Chief of Staff 6 years ago. He was the 325th Operations Group Deputy Commander there with Colonel Watkins at the time. And we moved him to Winter Haven, Florida, or Lynn Haven, Florida. And him just being an ex-Thunderbird and knowing about his past was just very motivating to me. And since then, I've been in contact with him. I call him every once in a while. I'm able to talk to him, just catch up in life. Last year in 2024, there was a air show in Panama City Beach over by Tyndall, the Gulf Coast Salute air show. And knowing him, I was able to, show center was on the pier down there, and he was able to get me on the pier and at the end of the pier in the acrobatic box as the air show is going on. So cool. that was just wild, just in its own, just like a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Nice. Yeah, it's cool to have those connections, that continue to move on. And I think that's what really makes some people great is you may not have a lot of time with them, which some people may think you need to really get to know somebody or be a role model of somebody, but it's more about the time you get with them, how it is spent.
Exactly.
And for you to just have that interaction with just helping somebody move and then continuing it shortly in those small bursts so you communicate and reach out to them, and for that person still to remember and help you out where they can. That's usually more important than maybe knowing somebody for 50 years,
Yes, sir.
That you maybe never talked to. And so that's really cool and really genuine there too. I do like the high school football coach as a hero because I still remember my high school football coach, Coach Cox. We're still good friends to this day. He was like a father of a father to me, even though I still had my father and I have a good relationship with him. Coach Cox was like another father to me. He was one of my first heroes playing high school football. He came to our school, and he was just really hard, really strict, and really taught us the manners. Yes sir, no sir, yes coach, no coach, and I still. It was funny. I had another episode, and I was talking to somebody, and I still call him coach to this day.
Yeah.
Like I'll go back home, like, hey coach, how's it going? I'm like 38 years old, calling this guy coach, but it was more just the relationship we built and the respect that he got through us during that time. And I think high school coaches have a lot more, power to be a great role model. There's a lot of change going on in our lives, and there's a lot of good they can do. And it's also a tough time too, for people and kids where if they're having a hard time with their family or things like that, or a new school, the coaches are usually the ones they see the most.
Exactly. That's definitely true.
Yeah. What about your hardship?
So I'm going to work into this one slowly. I'm going to also go back to high school and just do my experience from there to the hardship. So graduated in 2021. I went to the University of South Alabama for a year. I was going to do mechanical engineering. Got through a year, and at the very end, chemistry got the best of me. So I said, no more mechanical engineering. I'm not going to try to go that route. And then took about 6 months off, just worked, make some moolah. And then January of, it would have been 23, I went to Coastal Alabama, which is at our international airport here in Mobile, and they have a aircraft maintenance program to teach. So I did that for a year, learned aircraft maintenance for a year, and then in that time frame, I met a captain. I moved on to Tyndall, and being there, I talked to him about what I wanted to do. I want to join the Air Force. I want to be an officer. I want to fly. What's the best route for me? And that is when I truly knew about ROTC. So he told me, hey, you told me what you want to do. Now look into ROTC, see what you think. And I did. Looked into ROTC, and I'm like, this is going to work out, hopefully by the end of it. And being a 3-year, which I'll get into eventually, the whole 250 thing, want to do that, want to commission, do ROTC. So took next 6 months and did Calculus 1 just by itself because I just needed to catch up on my maths. And then 1 year ago, August of 26, excuse me, August of 24, went back to South Alabama, where I'm at now, to do a mathematics major and officially joined ROTC. I came in as a 250, which means you're doing your freshman year and sophomore year at the same time. It's definitely overloaded, especially as someone that kind of knew about the Air Force, but really came in blind as far as what to expect and everything going on, having to learn so much between balancing a mathematics major, being a 250, doing freshman and sophomore stuff at the same time. And if you come in as a 250, those 4 months of school or whatever it is in that first semester, that is your shot to get all your scores in, like your PFA score, your GPA, your commander's ranking, and multiple other things that go into your PSP selection for field training. I had 4 months to get myself in check and to make the best possible package I had. And that was my hardship. those 4 months of multiple nights of no sleep, doing homework, studying, working out, volunteering for stuff to help out my commander's ranking. I had to walk in here to this detachment into the 200 group, being one of the louder ones. And as a naturally, I'm quiet. I'm very introverted outside of this. But coming in ROTC, I was able to get out of my shell. And being a 250 definitely helped.
Yeah, and I get that question a lot with, just like we were talking about before, I have a lot of airmen that always ask me some ways to become an officer. And when airmen ask me that are enlisted, I usually tell them 2 ways. If you have your degree, you should do OTS. It's the easiest one. If you don't have your degree and you have time, you can get out like I did, enroll into a college that has ROTC, enroll into our ROTC program, graduate, and then come back in. Then there's some people who are like, hey, I have like an associate's, right? Or I have a couple years. Can I still do ROTC? And I'm like, there is a 250 route, but I didn't see much of it when I was in because there's not many. It's very difficult to get the enrollment allocation.
It is
because you're competing for that ranking with only a couple months compared to everybody else who had a year already in front of you. And so it's good to hear the success of the 250 route because now I can tell people like, hey, I know somebody who's done it. Here's what they did to be successful. They understood where they were going, so you had a purpose and a vision. You knew what you needed to do in those 4 months, which you knew was going to be tough, long nights, a lot of work. But the way I like what you talked about is you sort of knew where it was going, and so you were able to like focus then. You knew it wasn't going to be the rest of your life busy. It was like, hey, let me just like focus on these next 4 months. That's all I got to do. Whatever happens, happens. I'm not going to look ahead to field training or maybe going to another college. You're just like, just these 4 months.
Exactly.
And it really dives deep into one of my leadership traits of, getting comfortable being uncomfortable. You were in an uncomfortable situation. You knew what you had to do, and you just did it. You talked about how ROTC has helped you get uncomfortable with being an extrovert or being in group settings and being vocal and being talkative. That's just, I think, one of the things that comes with being in the military. There are a lot of introvert leaders in the military, but most of them that are introverts have learned that they have to be an extrovert to build communications, network, etc.
Exactly.
And so it's just a hurdle they have to go through. So it's really cool to hear the 250 success, even though it's a hardship at the same time. So now where are you along your path?
So I'll kind of pick up where I left off. So we're a smaller detachment. Last year, we only had about 35 total cadets with 4.
In your whole detachment?
Yes, sir.
Dude, that's crazy. We almost had 30 a class.
Really?
Yeah.
4 of them were POC. So they had their hands full with us.
Wow.
Just being 4 of them. So last year, it was 3 250s walked in, and they're already rare. So having 3 of them come into a small detachment, like, blew everyone's mind. And out of the 3, all 3 of us made it to field training. So the 3 of us walked in and kicked ass. So April came around, so sent our package. April came around, and our colonel got us into our, called us for a meeting and basically told us we're all going to field training. So went to field training over the summer. It was I went June 2nd to June 22nd. I don't know. You probably went to field training, right, 10 years ago?
Yeah, I did Max 1 because I had summer football after field training, so I had to go to Max 1.
So, yeah, I did Max 2 up in Montgomery, Maxwell Air Force Base. That was... I still don't, want to talk about it. It was... The way I explain it is it sucked, but it's the most fun party you can have, but you're not allowed to have fun.
Nice. Okay.
Supposedly last year they were pretty relaxed as far as the cadre and the cadet cadre there. The word CTA, cadet training assistant, also gets
Yeah.
thrown around. They go hand in hand. Last year it was pretty relaxed, but this year I was like, you know what? I'm not going to listen to them. I'm just going to expect the worst, and my expectations were met. They had the new field training commander, the colonel. He started incorporating where the first half is more of like a boot camp setting, and then the second half is where you're doing all the leadership stuff, and it's like an OTS, like boot camp and the
Yeah.
OTS. So got through 3 weeks of that. It was horrible. I lost like 30 pounds. I just between sweating and just not eating because the food there is just, you were there. It was horrible.
Yeah.
Um, the I don't know. Did they have the riverfront defact when you were there?
We did 2 weeks in Garrison at Maxwell, and then we did 2 weeks at Camp Shelby for like a mini deployment setting when I went. It was a little different.
A little bit different. So we were on base the entire time.
Okay.
We didn't, and we were in basically just dorms, 3 to a room, basically.
Okay.
So graduated from field training June 22nd or June 21st, came home June 22nd, and July 1st, I had LASIK done. So, last year I was told I was medically disqualified because of my eyesight, and I had a -6. So, needed to get LASIK to get requalified medically to go fly, or for really, any rated position.
Yeah.
So that was about 9 weeks ago, I think. Did that. It went well. I can see 2015 right now, so seeing everything. And now this semester, I am a flight commander for Bravo
Okay.
Flight.
Nice. And then what jobs are you looking to do in the military if people want to know what motivates you and what you're looking to do?
I want to fly. So, pilot, CISO, or RPA. I'd love to do one of the three. I was also studied hard and got good scores on the AFOQT. Pixum score was really good. So now that I'm medically qualified,
Nice.
I'm going to keep pushing to get that pilot slot. That's when I was told I wasn't going to be able to be a pilot. I was like, okay, this kind of sucks. It was the kind of thing where they pulled me into the office to tell me, not over email. Because it does kind of a hard thing where you want to be a pilot, and then you get told, no, you can't be a pilot. So through that trial and tribulation, got through it, and now I'm on the other side of it, where I'm in the positive direction now of going for a rated.
And then you also got some flying hours too, I think you mentioned.
Yes. So my last semester, the spring semester, I was fortunate enough to receive the You Can Fly scholarship, which is a set amount of money that goes straight from like the Air Force to a flight school, and they pay for you to get flight hours.
Nice.
You can work towards your PPL, which is 40 hours. I was able to get 22 hours. I flew Piper 28s, which are Warriors, the little single engine, tiny ones. Super fun to fly, even though they're small. I also, in addition to that, at field training, I was able to fly in a A27 Tucano. It's what they train the JTACs in, and I forget what it's called. It's the Valkyrie group down here, and they train the JTACs all over the place. It was like a 30-minute orientation flight, but midway through, they gave me controls, and I was able to do barrel rolls and aileron rolls to both
Nice.
sides. So that was pretty fun to go upside down, and we had another aircraft wingman, and we were going up, we were chasing each other, practice dogfighting. It was super fun. And towards the end, I asked the pilot, who was a F-35 National Guard pilot for here in Alabama, actually at Danley Field, which is right there by Maxwell. I asked him, hey, I want to test my limits. Can you do one more hard pull before we put the wheels down? And we did 5 Gs
Nice.
for about 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And I just still can't stop talking about it. It is the coolest thing I've ever done.
That's cool, man. That's a good experience right there.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Because of that, my respect for pilots now, especially Thunderbird pilots, when they're doing the minimum radius turn for 9 Gs for 40 seconds or so, I couldn't, I couldn't fathom now how they could do that.
It's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So, for those that are just curious about ROTC and maybe thinking of joining, what were some of your motivations to want to be in the military? I don't know if we hit that. And then what are they talking about? What's the future like in the military? What are you hearing out there?
Mm-hmm.
What keeps you going?
So my grandfather, he was in the Air Force back in the Vietnam War. He was a medevac jumper. He'd, rappel down from the helos and go get people. He's kind of like my second father. I still have my father, but he's my second father. Raised me the first half of my life. Love him to death. And he's what I would say is my main motivation for joining the Air Force. And then, as a kid, I've always wanted to join the military. I've always wanted to fly. And then when I got to the age of where, the Air Force is a thing, that's when I wanted to join the Air Force. What was your second question? I already forgot it.
So you got your motivation, why?
Mm-hmm.
What are you hearing as far as when people tell you what to expect? What's the future like? Are they still talking about it's not like it when they were in? What's the good and bad?
So the two biggest things they're telling us now, which I'm going to try to be careful with what I say because I'm still under General Order 1 for field training. But I'm pretty sure everyone is aware about the whole 2027 China thing and Taiwan and all of that going on. That's what is getting barked at us. It's China, China, China. That's honestly what field training was. China, China, China. Last year and this year. And something I'm sure you've heard of is ACE, Agile Combat Employment. That's also is what we're hearing a lot about. The Spratly Islands that are in, between Taiwan and China or below Taiwan out in the South China Sea, us going there, hopping from island to island, and doing what we need to do as the Air Force to be able to strategically know what we're going to do for this next war if we have one, whenever it may be.
Yeah, that's good. I think it's a lot, but it's not too in depth for a new person in the military to be overwhelmed. It's just enough to keep you guys motivated, keep you inspired and keep you just on the edge of okay, there's something out there, I'm not just joining and I'm going to be sitting behind a desk the whole time. There's a potential to go do the thing that I'm training to do, in the B1 community, since we're not deploying anymore to, Doha, where we go to Syria or Afghanistan and do our strikes, we're trying to motivate the younger generation of, hey, welcome to the B1, where it's not like a combat time, so you may not be able to drop a lot of bombs. But what we're doing is still important because we call it BTFs, Bomber Task Force, which is a spinoff of ACE for the bombers. That's like our bread and butter now. Is we go to smaller places like Massawa in Norway and Fairford, go there for a month or so, do some flights around areas where they don't think the B1's going to be, and then we come back home for it. So that's our new deployment and our new concept of we're teaching these guys like, hey, even though you're not going to drop a bomb like some of us did, you're still going to go to these places and have to be the front line for people who have never seen a B1. Or go to these areas where you're the closest bomber that the U.S. has if something happens. When we go to Norway, we're very close to Russia. Or when we go to Massawa, we're very close to China. And so having these opportunities to be the closest threat to those near-peer threats is pretty motivating and keeps everybody on edge and keeps them sharp and keeps us training well too. And so, yeah, the BTF is a concept that we've been deploying for the past few years. And, I just went on one a couple months ago to Massawa, and it was really cool to experience a country I never thought I'd experience in the B1 community, where all they did is go to the deed for the past 30 years, and do close air support and stuff like that. I've been able to go to Massawa, Norway, Guam, all these other places where some of the guys at B1s have only went to one place their whole career.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, so let's dive into some leadership stuff now. One of the things I always talk about is just my leadership philosophy. And what I try to teach a lot of young people is, one, you're always a leader, so there's always opportunity to lead. You have to know what guides you in your leadership, what guides you in how you do things every day. And what guides me to do what I do every day is sort of like my ruck today, right? I could have just been something simple and easy, but that wouldn't have fallen in line with my guidelines. And they're like a pyramid, bottom up, where the bottom is the most important, then it works up from there. And number one is lead by example in all you do. Number two is to be selfless. You have to be selfish. And then number three is build relationships based off trust and care. Number four is challenge the road in front of you by getting comfortable being uncomfortable. So that is how I do everything every day. It could be as simple as like how I do the bed, or how I check my emails, or how I study for a test. All of those fall in line with those four things. Same as the things I don't do. The things I don't do don't agree with those four things. So if there's something where it's like someone wants to go out and get some drinks, I'm like, well, does that align with these? No, because it's just going to put me behind any other area I'm trying to get ahead of. Yeah. So out of those four, which one have you heard before? Which one's like new to you? Which one do you like? Which one would you like to discuss? What do you got?
The get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I've heard that plenty of times from military guys. I think that's just a military thing. The lead by example, that one I've heard about, just lead from the front. That's what we're here for, which I saw on your leadership traits. There was one where you said lead from the back.
There is, yeah.
And that caught my eye. So I want to see what you have to say about that, either now or when we get to it.
Yeah.
To be selfless, you have to be selfish. That's a new one to me. And maybe I'm kind of thinking like what you mean by that in like my situation being an ROTC. I'm guessing like balancing like my own personal things, but at the same time serving others is what I guess you mean by that. And then relationships.
Close.
Relationships
it's
based.
More.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's going to be more directed towards yourself first. It's not necessarily a balance. Because the reason it's leaning more towards yourself as a priority is because if I want to give back to others full-heartedly and 100%, I have to be 100%. So I can't give to others if I'm not taken care of. I can't lead people in PT if I'm not good at PT. I can't lead people in hair and grooming and standards if I don't have hair, grooming, and standards up to par.
Okay.
I can't, like be the best version of myself and tell them to be the best version of themselves if I'm not.
When you're
So it's
not.
very much a selfish aspect.
I get
And
it
the
now.
reason it's so hard for some people to conceptualize is because we're sort of taught in this new time, like, oh, love each other, give to everybody, which is great, but I can't give to people I'm not willing to give to myself or be the best version of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had the cadet yesterday, Isaac, he asked the same question. He's like, hey, man, like, that's a weird one, like in the Air Force, we talk about sacrifice before self, and all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. But I can't sacrifice if I'm not myself, like I can't give my all to somebody if I'm not there physically or mentally. And we also talked about the purpose of in ROTC is his question was, hey, I'm in ROTC where we're trying to motivate these guys to be the best they can be, but not like show off or like put people down for working hard.
Mm-hmm.
But then I told them like, hey, competition also breeds greatness. And so like if everybody's working to be the best version of themselves, everybody around you is going to raise their level of standards as well. So like if the 200 class is always at PT first, always running further, always getting better grades, everybody else around them may think they're working too hard. That's not true.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else should be thinking they need to raise their standards to match them.
Mm-hmm.
And then as those people raise their standards, the people who are high are going to notice it, and they're going to raise their standards, and everybody keeps getting better. If we settle for the standard, and that's what we lead by, everybody else's standards is actually going to get lower because they're not going to match ours. It's always going to be a little bit lower.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's all about setting the bar. And so if I can be the best version of myself, I'm also setting the bar for everybody around me to continue to be the best version of themselves. Because if they go, Manny can get 100% on his PT test, why can't I? So now I'm going to work a little bit harder. But if Manny only gets a 90, I'll be fine with getting an 80. And so they don't do as hard.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where that one really comes into play.
Gotcha. And then your third one, the relationships based on trust and care. That's also kind of a new one to me. So maybe you can explain that one a little bit.
Yeah. First, I'll ask, do you guys talk about like building relationships or getting to know the cadets and all that within your attachment?
Yes, sir. So the problem we're having as a POC Corps, especially with the freshmen, is actually what I've told you about 2 weeks ago is also as flight commander. There's a fine line between getting to know them, and supporting them. And what am I trying to say here? Teach them, get to know them, take care of them, but also between upholding standards and expectations. And right now, we're almost being too strict to where I'm going to have to take time out of my day, which is fine, to go talk to my cadets in my flight and kind of go back to the basics. Because I feel like we skip the basics and just like everyone's scared of the POC right now, where it needs to be in an environment where they still respect us, but also get to know them and teach them the right way.
Yeah, man, that's what I love about ROTC is it's not that simple.
Mm-mm.
If people go to the academy, you're locked in the military 24/7. So you don't have these different shifts of civilian, ROTC, cadet, non-cadet. ROTC, it is like ROTC, you're 20% a cadet and 80% a student. And so you have to have that fine balance of, hey guys, when you step in across this line, right, you're a cadet. I'm your peer. I'm your supervisor or whatever. You are lower ranking. Establish that. Outside of that, I'm Travis, you're Johnny. Let's go get a beer, do whatever we got to do. Go watch football, go work out, have fun. That's why ROTC is tougher, but you build better relationships. To uphold standards and be a better leader, you have to have relationships. So you can't do one without the other. If it was me, I would build the relationships first, because that's where the trust is going to come. Then you set the standard, because you can't set standards without having relationships, because they're not going to trust you, they're not going to believe you, they're not going to listen. So if you build relationships first through workouts, going to lunch, getting to know each other, maybe it's like you have to fill out a questionnaire, right? And you get to know them virtually through that, just some way of getting to know them, sharing empathy with them, sharing your stories with them, sharing your struggles with them, being a human. Then when you start setting standards, they trust you and understand where you're coming from a little bit more. It's going to take time, but we have the time. We have plenty of time to do it.
Exactly.
It's pretty easy to build relationships. Like I build relationships every day with airmen around here by asking their name, asking where they're from, step by step. I build it up. I don't try to get to know them all in one day. It's usually a culmination of like weeks or months, or even years for some of the airmen here at DICE. Before they reach out to me via social media or on base and go, "Hey, we've talked over the past few months. Like, here's what I got to do." And it also starts with you leading by example. I can't set standards if I'm not following the standards. And so I have to be able to lead by example in everything I do. I can't tell somebody to show up here in an ROTC role ready to work if I'm over here lollygagging as a POC, right? Which can happen as POCs because they think since they are enrolled and they went through field training, like they're done, right? They made it.
Which is not the
If anything,
case.
you have to lock it in even more because now you have the 100s looking at everything you do, everything you do. And they're going to take those minor false, the bad things you do and multiply them. They're not going to take the good things you do. They're going to take the bad things you do. And they're going to do that.
Yep.
And so that's probably the hardest thing about being a leader is doing the right thing all the time. So one of the sayings I really love is the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. There are a lot of people who think they're great because they're good at one thing. And most of those people think just because they're great at their job, they're a great person, which isn't true. Most people that are like really, really good at their job are slacking in other areas, but they're trying to hide it or they're trying to make excuses for it by saying, well, I'm really good here. Doesn't matter. If I'm a really good fighter pilot, but shitty husband, I'm not a good fighter pilot. I'm just not, because I'm not taking care of myself. Now, when somebody tells me, like, well, I don't have time to do all that. Yes, you do. It's just you have to be very, very diligent with your time, very focused on what you're going to do, and you have to do it in everything. Like it's very OCD when you think about it. Like when I'm like organizing my bathroom sink, or doing the dishes at night, or doing all these little things. I'm like, man, this is pretty anal. But then at the same time, I'm like, what if somebody walked into my house, and I was giving a tour and they saw a dirty bathroom, and they're like, oh, that's disgusting. Or like my kids walk in and that's what they see, and I'm like, well, now I can't yell at them for they're having a bad bathroom because my bathroom's bad. Same as maybe in an ROTC detachment. If you guys have offices or desks there, and 100 walks into your office or the 200 room or the POC room, and there's clutter everywhere, and then they're like, oh, that's just, I guess, the way it is. And so their room's like that, but when you go in there, you tell them it's dirty, and they're like, wait a minute, you can't just tell me that.
Yeah, so I'm going to tie in a story based off exactly what we just said. So about 2 weeks before the semester started, I came to the detachment to start preparing for the new cadet orientations. And our tech sergeant, she redid the whole supply room. And then I walked into our cadet lounge and it looked like a bomb went off. It just trash and just stuff everywhere. And it was left from fall semester because no one's been here all summer. So it's been like that for 3 months over the summer. So I spent like 4 days coming here, cleaning the cadet lounge, just getting rid of junk, organizing stuff. We've been in this new building for about 1.5 years now. And hanging pictures on walls, even this one. I got this one off on Amazon, just to add some of our heritage squadron to it, because that's something we're lacking right now, is knowing who our heritage squadron is, which is the 77th Fighter Squadron out of Shaw, the Gamblers. So that ties into that, and just the third core value, excellence in all we do. You know, I don't want the cadet lounge to be dirty when we had like 35 new freshmen this year. We're at about 50 cadets right now. So a big freshman class coming in, I don't want them seeing the detachment a wreck, because their initial like perception of seeing the detachment, I don't want it to be bad. So being able to clean up, and now them seeing a nice detachment and it's clean now, you know, we set that standard and for them to go off of.
Nice. Let's talk about leading from the rear, right?
Mm-hmm.
A weird one, but it's very important. And the way I found this leadership trait, and a lot of people have heard me before, I don't just make up these leadership traits. I don't create them. I'm not the first one to use them. I borrow, steal, and snag a lot of these from a lot of successful people, and I just apply them to the way I lead.
Mm-hmm.
I learned about leading from the rear when I was a young flight commander as a captain for an air crew flight equipment shop. And I went in there not knowing the job, trying to figure out how I can lead these people. And I had to understand how they worked and functioned first before I can lead them. A lot of young officers have a tendency to get into a workplace and automatically start making change. Not young officers, a lot of officers do it. And it's just a very annoying trait that I see when things happen like that. So I was like, well, let me sit back, see who works well in the shop, what doesn't work well in the shop. Let me talk to the people in the shop, see what needs to be changed, see what doesn't need to be changed, and then maybe like 6 months later or a year, make change. Like that's what I talk about leading from the rear. I'm still leading because I'm still the technical leader of the shop, but I'm not leading because other people are leading. So I'm letting them continue to lead.
Okay.
So after I sat back and I saw what needed to be changed, I was able to talk to people about it, talk to my flight chief, talk to my superintendent, and be like, hey, what do you guys think about this? This is a good idea. They're like, no, don't do that because this, okay, cool. Nice, let's look at this. Oh, what about this? Oh, yeah, we can change that. Okay. So I was able to talk about all these changes and then go make the change.
Gotcha.
And it also, there was another moment where I saw leading from the rear take effect as well so I do a lot of rucking, and one of the biggest rucks I've done was in the Netherlands where I rucked 80 miles in 3 days. And my role of that rucking team was to make sure nobody fell out. We had 19 of us in the Netherlands walking 20 plus miles a day. And we had to make sure we finished the team every day. So my goal was to make sure we finished. I couldn't do that from the front. Even though I was the most physically fit, I could lead it all. I couldn't make sure everybody was still in line from the front. So I was always the last one in the ruck. I was always the one in the back because I could see the guide on that we carried. I could see my DJ because we had a DJ with the boombox. I could see the guy with the crazy hat. I can see everybody in front of me, and I knew where they were. I could tell the guy in the front to slow down or speed up based off if somebody was falling behind. If somebody broke off to the bathroom, I was the closest to him, so I keep an eye out and make sure we didn't get too far ahead. That was my leading from the rear. I had a goal and purpose to make sure everybody finished, right? That was my goal as a leader. So what's the best way to do that? Well, from the back. And I was still able to lead from the back because I was able to motivate from the back. I was able to talk to the people around me, and people knew where I was at all times. Like my whole flight knew where I was. Like they didn't have to worry about Manny because he was just in the back, make sure everybody's there. And so I was leading without leading. So that's also another way people can lead as well, is understanding where the leader has to be effective. Now, if my goal is to make the flight first, I would be in the front setting the pace, right? I'd be in the front moving fast, setting the tone, like cheering and yelling, holding the guide on. But we didn't have a goal to get first. We just had a goal to finish. So
that's good.
That's our concept of leading from the rear.
Okay. You want me to do the 3 that I picked you can talk about?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
So the 3 I picked were the always be learning.
Ooh, yeah.
Control what you can control. And then meeting new people / like networking.
Yeah.
And then one more I added. It's a mix of how not to lead, because I've learned that at field training, and then also how to motivate others to come to work, want to show up to work. Who was it? My major here, our AS300 instructor, he was telling us during class the other day, when he was flight commander back in the day, his airmen always asked him for like incentives.
Mm-hmm.
And the most common incentive he had were days off.
Yeah.
That was most commonly asked. And if you really want to be here, why are you asking for days off? So I don't know if you want to touch that and kind of talk about that, why people might want to do that, why people join the Air Force, and then just to have days off. I don't know.
It's a good one. I like that. Let's start with the 3 you gave me, because always be learning is like an asterisk in my pyramid. It's like top 5. It could have been thrown in there, but I didn't, because everybody always brings it up. I'm a huge believer of always be learning, because it's the only way we grow. We can't get that. It sort of ties in with being comfortable. If you're comfortable, you're complacent, you're losing. Like, you're going to fall behind. So I believe you have to always be learning. And for me, it's just reading personal development books, reading books that put you outside your comfort zone. That's always be learning. It's super simple. It's super easy. And to say that it's not part of your job, or when I get a lot of airmen, they're like, well, I have my TOs to read, or I have these books to read, I can't read more. I'm like, excuses. Always be learning. Because if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. You should be in a room that's challenging you. You should be in a room where you are uncomfortable, that you're going to grow. Stress equals growth. And so that's why always be learning is so important to me. And it's very close to making my top 4. And so to teach people that, I have to show it, like I just can't tell somebody like, go learn new things, but I'm not like, I'm always learning new things. Like I'm learning new ways to push myself physically. I'm learning new ways to build better habits. I'm learning new ways to get better in the jet. I'm learning new ways to be a better leader. And so that's why it's just important to continue to build those traits and build myself as a person, because there's never no like, I've reached my max potential.
Yeah.
And so that's why that one's right there. Control what you can control. This is important because a lot of people make decisions and get stressed and have anxiety over things that they just can't control, like the weather or just things that go on. And so once you understand what you can control, what you put in your mouth, what you watch on TV, when you wake up, when you go to sleep, what you're reading, who you have around you, who you follow, the things you control make you. If you want to become a fighter pilot, surround yourself by fighter pilots. That's what you can control. If you want to be a fighter pilot, control what you eat, right? Because you're going to have a better fitness than most people in the military. So control that. What you can't control, your ratings, as far as going into a board you get. You can't control what aircraft you get. So there's that. Once you understand that, it makes it less stressful when you go into it. And that's why I tell people to control what they control, because it's going to make things less stressful. Once you understand that, everything else is really easier, because I know what I shouldn't worry about. I shouldn't worry about if I'm going to go run the PT test and what the weather's going to be like, because weather's weather. I just need to be in the best shape to go run. Period. Done. I can control that. If I make excuses about the weather, make excuses about something I couldn't control, and you add on to that stress. And so being able to control those things limits the amount of stress you have, but it also increases your chance of success. Because there's also times when people will complain about the things they can control. Like, I gained this much weight. And I'm like, dude, that's not an excuse. It's pure laziness, because you control literally what you put in your mouth. Like your hand is your control to put things in your mouth. If you can't control that, you're being fed by a robot or something, which isn't happening. So there's no excuse on that side. And I can also call people out on that stuff, because there's a physical reason on why they're there. If someone's like, hey, I failed the PT test, I don't know why. Yeah, you do. You literally are the one that trains for us, so that's something you control.
Mm-hmm.
You control that. So there is no excuse. You just have to own up to it and do better.
Yeah.
So that one's a lot more passionate for me because it's just so black and white.
Mm-hmm.
Meeting new people is just amazing, man. I think relationships are the key foundation to everything great the military has to offer, or just getting anything done. The more people you meet, the more people you build relationships with, the more relationships you have,
Mm-hmm.
the more people want to work for you, the more people want to work for you, the harder they're going to work, and it just keeps going up.
Mm-hmm.
Also, networking is key, right? You saw it, moving boxes and meeting your role models. That's networking.
Mm-hmm.
It got you that spot on the air show, island. Like, that's networking. Network, like we are networking right now.
Exactly.
If you're not networking, you're falling behind because everybody that's successful has got there through networking.
Exactly.
And so there are a lot of people that are just like, well, I'm just going to focus on me and like get to the top. Cool. But you don't realize, like, to get to the top, it takes more than one person. Like, you can't just do it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You got to know, like, who to talk to,
Mm-hmm.
how to get to the top. Has someone already been to the top? Are you even on the right mountain? Like, that all comes through networking.
Mm-hmm.
Do you need a rope to get you up there? Like, most likely you do.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I also let people know the new people one is not just to know the people around you, but to get to physically know new people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for instance, know people at the grocery store, get to know their name.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's just once you go in there, you look at the person's name tag and you say, thank you, Sally, for the day, and then you go back in there again, you say it again. Soon you have a relationship with them.
Mm-hmm.
In college, it could just be walking by. Maybe there's like the same time you go to class every day and you always see that same person that goes the other way.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it starts off with that hi, and then it's like, oh, hey, so what class are you going to? And then it's there. And then, it compounds from there. And then maybe one day you have a question about that class and you go, oh, I remember that person who I walk by every day that has that class. Let me go talk to
Mm-hmm.
them. So sometimes getting to know the new people, it's not with the intent of networking, but it can help with networking later on down the road.
Yeah, I've lived my life thinking like networking is probably the most important thing someone can do. Even with the most recent thing that has happened in my life, about a month and a half ago, I moved again, someone on a Hurlburt field, and it just happens to be the deputy commander of AFSOC, Major General.
Oh, nice.
Major General Martin. I met him, officially, like on the civilian side. Super cool guy. And with that, he offered to come to the detachment and talk to us for a while.
Nice.
And so now I'm in the process of getting that set up. He's going to come down sometime October, November. But just people like that. Like, I would never think in a million years that I'd meet the deputy commander of special operations.
That's cool.
Insane.
Yeah, it's that simple. And it's that small.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then the one you brought up, it's funny. Like, why do you show up, and the incentive to take days off is one of the biggest incentives of the military. I get it all the time. Now with the Air Force going to 2 PT tests a year, losing the incentive of taking the test only once a year if you get 90 or above, a lot of airmen are like, hey, Manny, like, what are you guys doing to motivate your airmen? Most squadrons will have the day off for the comp day if you get over 90 and maybe 2 comp days if you get 100. Yeah, and to tell the airmen, like, why do you want days off if this is what you love to do? Like, not all airmen love their job, unfortunately. It's a lot of those airmen are put into jobs based off of a score sheet. And so there are going to be some that don't love their job, but to help them stay motivated, they do ask for those days off. And, and I get asked that, when I was a flight crew, and that's how it was for me, all the airmen are like, hey, sir, if we work hard today, can we get off early, or things like that. And most of the times, it was always hard for me to do that because I can't just have them work hard one day. I need them to do it all the time. And so you have to sort of motivate them to do that more than just one day. Maybe it's like, hey guys, for this month, if you bust your butt like 2 out of the 3 weeks, or like you have a tally board, right? And this is a good day, it's the bad day, but we win more days than we lose. Maybe at the end of the month, we have a full day off or something like that. It adds up. That way they're motivated throughout the month to work hard. and they have more good days than bad days, and then they get that one day off. You could do it like that. Doing it on a day of or a week is a little bit short notice because it's honestly really easy for a flight to work really hard because most of the time they're working at such an average level. To go above and beyond, it's pretty easy. So usually what that shows me is like, hey guys, you can work hard on this day. Why can't you do this every day? Like that just means you're working less on other days. To show you can work harder on a day where you're actually just doing more than we should be doing. Like, why can't you just do more every day? Like, that'd be great. Then we could have more days off. But they don't do it. One, because usually the people above them aren't doing it. The people above them aren't doing it. So those leaders aren't leading by example in that area. But if I tell them like, hey guys, if you work hard 20 days this month to get a day off, like it's going to be a great month. And they usually they won't be able to conceptualize it because they've never done it before. Most airmen don't work at a above standard level. They work at a standard level because that's all the Air Force enforces. And so unfortunately, we're left with a standard result.
Yeah.
If we want better standards and higher standards, you have to enforce it more than just like one day of the month to get a day off. So that's a really good question, and it drives a very, very deep conversation of why is everybody just settling for the average every day, and then when they want a day off, they work a little bit more than the average. Like, it shouldn't be like that. It should be like you're working so hard throughout the week, your boss sees it, he gives you a day off when you ask for it because he knows, like, dude, they were crushing it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It wasn't come Thursday and they go, hey, sir, if we work hard this morning, can we have a day off? Like, what were you doing the rest of the week? Not working hard?
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that. But that's a good question. I challenge you to keep that one in your note, your nugget. So when you become an officer and you have that rapport and you get those questions, you can bring that up.
Definitely.
Yeah. Man, we're right at an hour. Let's finish off with the book of the day. What book are you reading?
So I'm not currently reading a book, but a set of books I have read it's called Single Seat Wisdom by Dominic Slice Teak. Teich, Single Seat Wisdom. And it's not your average book where, it's like a long story chapter by chapter. The way his book is, he has 3 different books, 3 volumes. He reaches out to pretty much fighter pilots and he gets their story / experience of being in a cockpit with one person, one brain, one set of hands, and getting through situations they've been in, whether good or bad. Like just one that I remember is one of the guys was like F-16 pilot, and he was doing his I think it's your dollar sortie, which is your first sortie out. When he was coming into land, he like busted the hydraulics in the rear landing gear and like almost crashed the airplane. So he had a heck of a debrief and ended up failing that check ride. But by the end of it, he learned through mistakes, what happened, got better, and the next time he went, he passed the check ride. So, yeah, it was 3 books full of just multiple people and their stories.
That's cool.
It's just like real skills that you can develop like under pressure in the moments. You don't have, for like in your case, you don't have a second Wizzo or the pilot and co-pilot and be like, hey, something's going on. Like, let me get your input on it. It's something where if you lose your controls on your ailerons, you're pushing breakers, you're doing whatever you need to do to figure out why you have like hydraulic failure or something. So it's just that you're one person trying to figure out what's going on, and you're depending on yourself, not others.
That's good. Yeah, I love that one. I like that. The guy yesterday had a similar book. It was what was it? War in the Air. So another book about just fighter pilot stories. But yeah, very similar concept. But yeah, cool. I like the continuation of those books. The one I brought today is, so I usually read 2 books at a time. I'm reading another book called Brief by Joseph McCormick. It was recommended to me by a lieutenant colonel or a colonel in the Army. It says, make a bigger impact by saying less. So he talks a lot about how to be concise and brief with your words, your briefs, PowerPoints, etc., to have more effective lessons and get better communication. And so it's just a good, it's my second time reading it. So not too long. It's just a book that I can take applicationable skills from, add it to my daily life, and then go ahead and execute on. So just a good, simple book there.
What was it again? Brief by Joseph
McCormick. He also has a pretty good podcast. I think it's Say Less with More, I think is his podcast. They're like 10-minute episodes, which is amazing. And they all have specific little points. It's a pretty cool little podcast.
Awesome.
Well, Travis, you got any last minute parting shots?
Thank you for having me. I don't know. I do have more questions I want to ask you, but I don't want to include them in the podcast if you don't think they're necessary. But I feel like they are questions because this is like a cadet related kind of podcast. And I feel like these questions and your answers might be able to help other cadets. So I can read.
Send them my way after, and then what I'll do is I'll just like record my own like single episode, like answering them, like a Q&A one, like I've done before. Or I just have you back on and you can answer them for me, and maybe it's just a little more shorter, condensed, and we can do that. So
okay,
yeah.
But that's all I have. I really enjoyed this. I've learned a lot, definitely.
Nice. No, so have I. Like I tell a lot of people, like I always end up with like 1 or 2 pages of notes. And I'm like, if you guys left this episode with no notes, you're doing something wrong, you know? Like,
yeah, I got
everybody should be learning from the books you talk about at the end, the leadership philosophy, the stories, the hardships, you know, it all adds up. And so I appreciate everybody's story. That's what I tell a lot of people when they get on the show or they're nervous about a podcast is everybody has a story, you know, like, because everybody can relate to somebody. And so just being out there to tell our stories and share our success and our losses is what some people need to hear. So.
Exactly. Like, even for me, during the beginning of the podcast, you know, I was a little shy, like, what the heck's going on? I've never done this before. Went out towards the end.
But you can see, like, an hour goes by, and we're like, feels like we're just starting, you know?
Exactly. The only thing I'd say to, like, in general, to anyone is just don't be afraid, you know, go for it. Whatever you want to do, go for it. You know, I was scared to join ROTC in the first place, but I did it anyway, and now I'm 2 years from commissioning. You know, so go for it, take your shots, ask questions, network with people. Don't be afraid to tell people no. Just keep going.
Perfect. Nice, man. Well, yeah, thanks everybody for listening. Like I say, if you love the episode, just save, share, like, share, whatever you got to do these days. I'll put Travis's info in the notes. And then until then, guys, look forward to the next one.